Hi, hello. The goal of today's video is to point out some stuff about Tera Raids that you might not know, but also to understand how one Pokemon can work so well for players, but not for others. While this video will focus around the recent 7-star Hisuian Samurott raid, the information here is going to apply to all future 6 and 7-star raids, so this isn't a video about the 7-star Samurott, but I'm using the 7-star Samurott as an example that you can use to apply to any future raid. The Pokemon we're going to use for our case study here is Go-Goat. I created a Go-Goat build for the 7-star Chestnut raid, and then I recycled it again for the 7-star Samurott raid. And across YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, I got comments that this build didn't work for them, and they died right away, and they couldn't do a single move. Although this is odd because in those same places on the internet, I got comments saying that they defeated the Samurott their first try with Go-Goat. I even got some people saying they soloed Samurott with no problem, and so on. Go-Goat really worked for them. So how is this possible? How can a Pokemon build have some people not being able to do a single move and not work for them, but other people are able to complete the raid with no problem? Well, this video isn't about Go-Goat being bad. It's about you being bad at Tera Raids, and I'm here to make you better at them. Let's talk about our case study here. Go-Goat. With the amount of people saying they couldn't survive a single hit on Go-Goat, this Go-Goat here, on turn 1, took about 25% damage. Again, how is that possible when so many people are saying that they couldn't survive at all? Well, if we watch the turn order of this raid, yes, the turn order in raids matter, we can see not only did a Haze go up, but a Reflect also went up. This means when we click Worry Seed, we already have both of those in effect. Haze removing that +2 Swords Dance, and Reflect giving the entire team that defense boost. This right here is something tons of players, in my opinion, don't understand after a year of raiding. Now again, I said this video isn't really about Samurott, so you can use turn order to your advantage in current and future raids. If you didn't know this, the raid boss doesn't attack you until you attack it. There is this weird 2-minute timeout auto attack that happens, so eventually the raid boss will attack you, but for the most part, the raid boss will wait until you attack it before it attacks you. So in the example we're using, we only waited a couple seconds to hit Worry Seed, resulting in only taking 25% damage and being able to be set up. And now once we're set up, we'll be able to survive this entire raid because Worry Seed shuts off Samurott's ability and the Haze removes that +2 Swords Dance. And of course the Reflect gives us that defense boost. Now I know some of you are writing a YouTube comment of, well, you did this with people, which is true. That was a group setting. But I cleared Samurott over 100 times with 100 different people bringing whatever Pokemon they wanted to build. Some brought Go-Goat, some brought Volcanion, some brought Lilligant, some brought Miraidon, Bellibolt, whatever they wanted. And in those 100 clears, we only failed twice due to a weaker Pokemon not waiting for the proper turn order and fainting before things like Haze or Reflect could go up properly. And I do sincerely believe, even though they might have brought the wrong Pokemon, or they were not EV trained properly, if they just respected the turn order, we still would have been able to carry them to victory. But they pressed the buttons too fast, the raid boss did its thing, and we lost. But for all the people saying, well, of course, group stuff is easier when everyone is coordinating, I took this Go-Goat into a solo raid to prove a point about not needing to be in a group. So here in this example, our NPC friend gets an Intimidate off, meaning that we will now survive X-Scissor and we will be able to Worry Seed. While Go-Goat with a big root cannot survive a +2 X-Scissor, it can survive a +1 X-Scissor. So even in this example, we'll be able to get Worry Seed off. We might faint, but that's okay because we can come back in, grassy terrain, and then Giga Drain and Growth in order to win. And a ton of people on both Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube said that this worked great for them. But what if you don't have like an Intimidate Pokemon? That's like a weird gotcha because you could simply reset for an NPC to give you Intimidate, and if you are playing solo against a physical Pokemon, you should probably reset until you get like Staraptor or Arcanine. But if you're just being stubborn, we could just change the held item on Go-Goat. So in this example that you're seeing, I changed Big Root on Go-Goat to Tanga Berry. What Tanga Berry does is if the holder is hit by a super effective bug type attack, it will consume the Tanga Berry and have that attack's damage. For some reason, when you're holding one of these berries that reduce super effective attacks, the raid boss doesn't like to use that specific attack. In the solo situation, we give Go-Goat a Tanga Berry. Now the Samurott won't use X-Scissor at all, and even without an Intimidator, we can now still solo the Samurott. There was no EV changes, there was no move changes. We just simply changed Big Root out for Tanga Berry to prevent a super effective bug type attack, and we were able to solo it. This trick should work in most cases. So again, this is information you can use for future 6 and 7-star raids. If there is a specific move that is giving you trouble, you could equip the corresponding berry that would prevent that raid boss from doing that super effective attack. Out of 45 recorded Samurott attacks across 3 successful raids holding the Tanga Berry, Samurott only used X-Scissor once. And I'm not sure what procced it or what the reason for it to use it that single time, but our RNG of that would be about a 1.8% chance in my testing. And I would love to test more, but regardless, we were still able to solo the Samurott 3 times just by changing the held item and not having an Intimidator next to me. Of course, much easier with an Intimidator, and of course, in this specific situation with Go-Goat, much easier with an Intimidator, and Arboliva there to activate Grassy Terrain, which triggers Go-Goat's ability. Going back to turn order now, I do want to stress how important turn order can be. I'm going to use Appleton as an example. My EV spread on my Appleton build was designed so Samurott could never one-shot Appleton at the start unless it got a critical hit. This would give Appleton a guarantee to set up Reflect, but if we pay attention to turn order and we wait for Volcanion to haze before clicking Reflect, we go from having about 1 to 2% HP to about having 50% HP just by waiting for that single move to proc before we use our own move. We wait for the haze to go up, then we hit Reflect, and now we have significantly more HP just by waiting a couple seconds. Remember, the raid boss doesn't attack us until we attack it back. So if we take actual turn order in for this entire fight, Volcanion would haze, Appleton would Reflect, and then Go-Goat would Worry Seed. Every single Pokemon did something to set the raid up for success. And all of these moves can be done in less than 10 seconds. The only thing you're doing is paying attention to the upper left-hand corner to see those moves pop up before tapping your own move. Instead of just playing catch up with health, we just pay attention to what our teammates are doing, and we understand how these moves work on these teams to benefit everyone. I also want to use this moment to remind people about IVs. I had some people tell me that their Appleton couldn't survive a single X-Scissor, and they built it exactly to the build I posted. I asked them to check if they hypertrained their Pokemon, and that in fact was the reason why. Here's damage done to an Appleton with 31 IVs in defense. You can see that X-Scissor maxes out at 99%, meaning it would be a 2-shot KO. If our Appleton only had 10 IVs instead of the 31, you can now see that X-Scissor has a 56% chance to one-hit KO, versus if we just used a bottle cap and we hypertrained it, it would survive that first hit no matter what. So just make sure you hypertrain your Pokemon for raids, specifically HP, defense, and special defense should be the bare minimum for these 7-star raids. And of course, if you're a special attacker, special attack. If you're a physical attacker, physical attack. Speed. If you have an extra bottle cap, sure, most of the time you don't need it. That's probably a whole nother video about speed and raids. Now, of course, all of this team builds and turn order is more complicated with randoms, but the information is still beneficial while playing with solo or with a group of friends. I was able to solo Samurott with my Go-Goat build, using a Big Root, using a Tanga Berry. I even was able to do it with a Miracle Seed, and that was with and without Intimidate support. This all just comes to understanding turn order, but also understanding how held items can benefit your Pokemon. We had some of my Torterra builds running Heatrock, we had some running Big Root, we had some running Light Clay. None of those are particularly wrong. It just comes back to your specific playstyle. Some Torterras loved having Sun up for Growth and Sunny Day. Some loved having a longer reflect time so they can do other things. And some wanted just more health back with Big Root. My point of this video isn't to brag about being able to solo something with Go-Goat. I don't particularly like to solo raids. I enjoy playing with other people. The builds I do for 6 and 7 star raids are meant to help players get through these raids and not hit their heads against walls. But I do create builds of Pokemon to work together. But that doesn't mean that they can't work with other Pokemon I don't post. There are over 500 Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. Calculating damage for 4 Pokemon to work together, making the graphics, and posting a YouTube video is like 2 days of work for me. That's why I try to really only keep it down to like maybe 4 or 6 Pokemon, because it just ends up being a bit time consuming. But plenty of Pokemon can work just fine. In the example of Samurott, I was using a Weepinbell, I've used an Amoonguss, I saw a Hisui and Lilligant. Tons of Pokemon can work. But here's my takeaway. I hope that my builds inspire you to build new things and try out new things so you understand the game and the mechanics a bit deeper. For all the Iron Hand players out there, Iron Hands is very effective, but Iron Hands only really uses 2 moves out of over 900 different moves that the game has to offer. Let's not forget that there are over 180 abilities in this game, and there are dozens of held items and countless ways to EV train your Pokemon. There's a lot in this game, and the more you experiment and the more you understand, the easier new mechanics will be for you, and the easier it is to make these choices, like changing a held item from Big Root to Tanga Berry, or remembering to Hyper Train, or understanding that you can't survive a +2, but you could survive a +1 sword stance. Anyways, I hope this video makes you less bad at raids. If you made it to the end, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I usually do that in the middle, but hey, if you made it to the end, feel free to comment what your favorite raid Pokemon was. What's just your favorite raid Pokemon in general? And maybe it's for some people Iron Hands, or maybe for some people it's Annihilate. But I know a lot of people really enjoyed using Appleton. I know people love Go-Goat. I know there was a Charge-a-Bug build I did a while back that people absolutely loved. So if there's a favorite Pokemon you like to raid with, leave it in the comment below. But until next time, I will see you all later. Thank you for watching. Bye.